Today on Lead with Love, we're going to talk about um, when to take Social Security. I am not a certified financial analyst, but we're going to talk about that from a standpoint that I had experience with Social Security for over a decade, including time at a field office, and kind of we'll take a look at kind of the different aspects of when to take Social Security. It's an individual decision, so to speak, but there are a lot of things that people don't understand when they do finally take it, and you need to understand more about that. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk in a section called faux pas and fine print. And what we're going to discuss is different talk show hosts that have made faux pas. These are people that are listened to by millions of people, and they're trusted, and yet they can't do very simple research, and that just upsets me. And it just takes so little time to do that research. So we're going to do that, and then fine print. Some of the drug advertisements that have been out there, and you got to read the fine print, not just on drug advertisements, but on everything, whether it be um, uh, internet service providers. You got to read the fine print, and some of this fine print's not even fine. And we're going to discuss all that today in Lead with Love. Welcome aboard, everybody, to Lead with Love, L-O-V-E. That's Learn, Offer, Value, Educate. It is in Latin, and the over on this side, the logo right there. You can find my logo. There it is, and Learn, Offer, Value, Educate is in Latin there. It's trademarked logo through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, which I did myself, by the way. And what we'll talk about, maybe we'll talk about that on one of the shows, is how to do a trademark. Yes, it's a lot of paperwork, and yes, it's a lot of screens, and yes, you have to kind of know what you're doing. But at the same time, you don't need to hire a lawyer for this. And it's funny that a lot of people, they'll just say, well, I'm just going to let the lawyer do it. Well, that's fine, but the lawyer's going to take their cut somewhere along the line, preferably from you or from whomever, but they're going to get their cut. And trademark lawyers are extremely expensive, and you can do all the work. You do not need a lawyer for that. If you have a lawyer for your business and that's part of the deal, then it's fine. But we can discuss that as time goes on. So the first thing I want to discuss with you is we talked about Social Security. So a lot of these certified financial planners are putting on seminars and whatever else about when to take Social Security. When do you take Social Security? Oh, you got to, be careful about taking it this way. But I don't think that a lot of them bring up different aspects about Social Security that you need to understand. And the best place to do this is SSA.gov, and we'll go to that website and we'll go through some of those areas. But this is where I want to go first. So basically, it goes something like this. When do you apply for Social Security, right? And this is at 62, 65, later, when exactly does that happen? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, what is it that we have to talk about to be able to get the right questions to the right answers, to be able to figure out when it is that you should be doing Social Security. And a lot of people think 62 is the way to go. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of things to consider if you're going to kick it off at 62. And we're going to talk about full retirement age and when that is, different situations, and that's why they talk about individual decisions, because a lot of people don't realize that these FRA, or full retirement age, is literally different from many people. It all depends when you were born, what year you were born, and what month and what day. And I think that's very important. A lot of people don't realize the day aspect is very important, whether you were born the first day or the last day of that month. So that's the types of things we're going to be talking about. We're going to make sure that we cover a lot of those areas. And let me kind of speed this up here so that we don't sit around doing nothing, right? So we're just going to kind of kick this off here. Where are you? You should be coming up right there. We go. Okay, so this is my advice to you. Never apply for Social Security at 62 unless you know the following is true, right? And it's pretty much all of it. It's you understand the limit on your work salary, because There's a limit on that when you retire at 62. You need the extra income to offset other expenses, and you will never regret not waiting and making more for Social Security benefits in the long run. So I think that's pretty interesting. You understand the limit on your work salary. So a lot of people think, I'm going to take it at 62 and I can continue working. No, you can't. Unless you have to make a certain amount or below. If you make a certain amount or below, yes, there's not a problem. But if you make a certain amount or above, you are going to get penalized for that. You're going to get penalized for that. This is extremely important. You have to know this. So if you're going to take it at 62, you have to make sure you understand you're going to take a much lower, 70% instead of 100%. You're going to take a much lower benefit amount for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. Yes, you'll get the 1% or 3% or 5% or whatever it's going to be every year, but you're going to get only 70% of what you paid in if you kick it off at 62. All right. Now you may need the extra income, right? You may need that at that point in time, offset other expenses and those types of things. But a lot of people think, well, I'm disabled. Well, if you're disabled, apply for disability. Yes, it's a pain. Yes, yes, it takes time. But the bottom line is you get somebody who knows what they're doing in that area, preferably ex-Social Security people that understand that application process, and they will help you. Now, they're going to charge a fee. They're going to take a percentage of that disability off of your hands. But the bottom line is that it's about a convenience aspect. So, and also, you never regret not waiting and making more Social Security benefits. If you sit there and say, I'm going to take it at 62, and then at 65 or 66, you sit there, oh, I should have waited. Sorry, it's no, there's only one way to fix that. And it's not going to be a good thing. It's not going to be something that you can just sit back and go, I'm just going to change now and do it with my full retirement age. No, it doesn't work that way. So you have to understand all these things come into play. So, and that's why I say never, ever apply for Social Security 62 unless the following is true, right? And you have to understand that limit. And it's funny because they will tell you that limit at the Social Security office, or even through the website, through your application process if you're doing it online. Make sure you understand that, right? So questions before you apply. What is FRA? What is my full retirement age? How does this limit my salary requirements? And what are the salary limitations? And this is something that you need to address and you need to understand. As in the beginning, if you don't understand these salary limits, that's going to be a real problem. And this is where you get it, www.ssa.gov. And we'll go there after we're done with this, just so you know exactly where exactly what it's called and everything else. It's not ssa.com, not ssa.com. Do not go to ssa.com. It will look like the Social Security website, but it's not. It's a commercial website. They're going to charge you for things that are free on socialsecurity.gov. So make sure it's ssa.gov, G-O-V. Extremely important. So now we get to the full retirement age. It's based on your birthday. Once you're at or beyond FRA, there's no salary limits that you can, nice picture, right? There's no salary limits you have. You can make as much money as you want if you go at the full retirement age. Also, if you're born on the first of the month, let's say we're born 1 January, whatever it is, it's based on the previous month. It's based on the previous month. Let me say that again. It's based on the previous month. So if your FRA is 67 and 2 months and you go in there on the first of the month, you're born on the first of the month, it's based on the previous month. It's based on the previous month. Very, 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 very important to understand that. So in other words, that you need to go out and I would go out another month, or 2 or 6, just to make sure that you have that FRA well covered with that situation. So I think that's very, very important. I'm not going to tell you what my FRA is, and I'll tell you why. If I tell you what my FRA is, I have to give my birthday over the internet, which I'm not going to do. Number one, it gives my birthday, year, the whole 9 yards. Ain't going to happen. So your FRA is based on your age, based on the year you were born. Okay. So be careful about that. Be careful, be careful, be careful about that. And we'll talk more about that after this is over. We'll talk about full retirement age and all those. So I think that's pretty important to understand how that all works. So, and SSA.gov, SSA.gov, SSA.gov. As a matter of fact, let me put that here so we know exactly what we're doing here. www.ssa.gov. This is where you need to go, right here. Not .com, not .edu, not .org, but .gov. So full retirement age, FRA, full retirement age. They call it FRA. That's what they call it. So if you walk into it and you say, hey, what's my FRA? Or you sit there and say, hey, my FRA is this. They're going to understand right away. It's Social Security Office. FRA is full retirement age. It's what kind of one of the first things they ever learned. So that's the way it's going to go. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. Once you're at or beyond your full retirement age, 67 and 2 months, you're beyond 67 and 2 months. There's no salary limits. You can apply for Social Security and you can continue to work whatever you're doing. Doesn't make any difference. You can work. You can make $100,000 a year. You can make $200,000 a year. You can make $50,000 a year. You can make $20,000. Doesn't make any difference. But if you're not a FRA, if you're not at that full retirement age and you apply for benefits and you get benefits before that FRA, you can apply for benefits early and get it after FRA. But if you apply and you get it before the full retirement age, you are salary limited. Salary limited. Very, very, very important. Let's move this thing along here. So here we go. Okay. So let's go to the next thing. Examples of FRA. So if you're born in 1960, your FRA, full retirement age, is 67 according to the Social Security Administration. Now, that means if you retire at 62, you will only get 70% of your full Social Security benefits for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. It will never change other than the yearly cost of living allowances they give. That's it. And you can only make $21,240 a year in salary. That's a 2023 figure. It changes every single year. Every single year it changes. You have to go back and you have to check it. You can only make, So your benefits will be reduced if you make more than $21,240 a year and you're on that Social Security and you took it at 62, right? Your benefits will be reduced $1 for every $2 you make over that $21,240. So let's say you make $22,240 that year. That means your benefits will be reduced by $1 for every $2 you make. Well, you made $1,000. So that means they're going to reduce that by $500 that year. $500 that year. This site right here, boom. This is the retirement planner. This tells you how to plan while you're working. Okay, very important. Let's see what this is. www.ssa.gov. Yay, it's right here. It's right there at the bottom there. Right there at the bottom. Okay, take a look at it. So this is what we're talking about. This is if you're born in 1960, right? So your FRA is 67. Boom, you take it at 62. So in other words, you will have already taken it. You would take it like 2022, right? So 2022, you retired. You said, I'm going to take this. You're going to take this. I don't care if I only get 70%. You don't care now. You don't care now. But in the future, remember, you blew 30% of your full Social Security. You blew it. I mean, you gave, remember the OASDI stuff? OASDI was old age survivor disability OASDI insurance. OASDI, old age security disability insurance, whatever it was called. That's OASDI was Social Security. You put your stuff in there every paycheck. You put it in, you put it in, you put it in, you put it in. You're going to only get 70% of that. Think about that for a second. You put in all this money, all those years you worked. You had to work for, what is it, 40 quarters, right? Or 10 years, right? Yeah, 40 quarters. So you work 10 years, right? You put all that money in there, you're going to get 70% of it. 70%. I mean, really? So think about this before you go on, but think about it before you do this stuff. Because I'll tell you, that's a lot of money you're putting on the table. And the US government doesn't care. I'm going to tell you right now, the US government does not care. I worked for the US government for 35 years. They don't care. If you put money on the table, they're going to take it and say, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's not, I mean, they're going to put it to whatever, they're going to give it, out to whatever, to whatever project, pet project they have at that point in time. So be careful. It's your money, right? So be really careful about what you're going to do with that money. But this is just one example of when we talk about this stuff. So this is pretty cool, and Social Security does a good job of, and they really do. Their their uh, uh, their website is well done. So let's go on to the next thing. So when you talk about this, very important. You may not detect a difference in your benefit amount during the year, even if you've earned more than prescribed, right? This is because Social Security makes a determination on benefits only once a year. So a lot of people sit there and, well, I got the same amount, and I worked $22,000 or $23,000 or $25,000 or $50,000. Well, that's real nice, but guess what? They're going to come after you. They will come after you for that money. This is called an overpayment, and they want that money right now. They want it, usually within 30 days. If you look it up on SSA.gov, they want that paid within 30 days. So when you get a notice, all of a sudden you're going to get a notice. It's going to say you owe $2,000, you owe $3,000, you owe $10,000. They want that money. They want that money right now. That's an overpayment. And let me tell you something. If you are under your full retirement age and you made more than $21,000, $21,240, or whatever that thing was that talked about that, shame on you, because they told you this at the field office or when you were doing it online. They told you the situation. And if they didn't tell them, then shame on them. But let me tell you something. I worked there, and that was a one thing that people were very, very well aware of. And I used to be in charge. I was in charge very, very briefly of overpayments at this one field office. And every single person that came in said, I didn't know that there was a rule there. I didn't know that you couldn't make this much. I didn't know that. I said, so you were working the same salary, 50, 60, 70, 80, $90,000. Think about that, folks. $1 for every two. $1 for every two. So all of a sudden, you're making $60,000 or $50,000 or $40,000 more than what they said. $1 for two, you owe them $20,000. $20,000. Now they'll work with you on this, because I worked with people on this, and they can take it out of your benefits for the next year, in which case you're not going to make as much benefits, if any. They're going to, they'll remove it monthly, over a monthly period. I mean, if you're making $2,000 and you owe $20,000, you make $2,000 a month from Social Security and you owe $20,000. Guess what? For 10 months, you're not going to receive any benefits. I mean, you're going to receive $4,000 for that entire year. So they will come after that money, and they can do a lot of things. If you don't pay that money, guess what they can do? The SSA can contact the IRS, and the IRS will take all the refunds. They will garnish your refunds. They will take any tax refunds that you have coming to you. They will take them and put them towards Social Security. And the bad thing about this is that people do this like yearly. They do it like more than 1 year. It's like, wait a minute. Why? You just got the notice the 1 year. Why would you do it the next year? Well, I didn't understand. Well, no. And this didn't understand thing is, I think that's a cop out. They tell you this stuff. They tell it to you. So don't sit there and plead ignorance like, I didn't know. Somewhere along the line, you thought, oh, I'm gonna get Social Security because it's partly my deal, right? So it's you got to be really, really careful with what you're doing in that area. Okay, so let's keep on going here. Okay, So they want their money right now. Okay. Now, the process of overpayment. This is the process. Social Security will send you a notice that you owe money. Okay. You pay that money, or they will reduce your benefits the appropriate amount to pay for that overpayment. If you retired before your FRA, you were told about this limitation. You can pay in installments. They don't mind. You can do it in payments. See, I'll do it in payments. That's fine. I had a situation one time. Person went on for years. The overpayment was $150,000. This is no kidding. $150,000. Now, I was in charge of the overpayments at that point in time. Went back to the benefits and took a look at it. They took a look at it. Turns out that they did some math errors, right? Which was cool. So it brought the amount down, not 150,000, but 75,000. $75,000. I mean, what was that? Electric car and a half? I mean, and this is no kidding. This is not, I'm making this up. It was wild how this all went. So you have to be really, really, really careful with this payment stuff. So that's, I mean, and you can pay in installments. They'll take installments. They do not have a problem with that in the world. Okay, sorry about that. Let's move on. Okay. So can you understand now why it's better to wait until FRA, right? People will tell you that Social Security will become non-existent. Oh my God, need to get it as soon as you can. If you don't get it now, it may not be there when when you really need it. Oh, it's going to go down every year. It's anything. Oh, it's going to die on 2040. Oh, it's going to die 2050. Oh, it's going to die 2030. It's going to die. But folks, let me tell you something. Yes, there will be rule changes, but let me tell you, no politician wants to have Social Security die on their watch. None. No politician wants to do that. Because I'll tell you, every senior that is voting, every senior that's voting, number one, you get rid of Social Security, you get rid of my Social Security check, you're going to pay for that. We're going to put another person in there. They're not going to get reelected. So, and there's a lot more people that are above the age of 60 now than even 10, 15 years ago. So they've got to do something to correct this. And let me tell you something, they always kick the can down the road, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we better correct this now. Ooh, okay. So they'll get some, they'll do some draconian horse poop that's, will fix this thing. But Social Security will be around, and it will be around a long time. So don't let that influence your decision as to, I'm going to get my money right now, because if I don't get it right now, I'm never going to get it. Because that's what the government would like you to think. The government would like you to think that, hey, this is a situation and you better get it now, because if you don't get it now, you're not going to get it. Government kind of pushes you into that panic mode, because they don't want you. If everyone gets 100% of their their just Social Security stuff, that brings down the balance, right? It brings down the balance quicker. If you get 70%, makes the balance last a little bit longer. So be careful. Get what you have earned. Get what you deserve, right? So be careful, right? It's a political necessity. And it really is funny. It really is funny to watch. The whole thing that goes along with that. Oh, this is, oh my gosh, we ought to take it now. Be careful about the panic. Think it through. Think it through. Wait until you get to full retirement age. Really. Also, and they'll say something like, if you die, you get no benefits. So if you die, you get no benefits. So, get it now, because my gosh, if you die, there's going to be, you're not going to get benefits. Like I said, don't let the fear of death, even after you reach FRA, you got to be careful, right? And this is interesting. Social Security will try to help you get more out of on the first benefit check. And this is interesting because it actually happened to me, right? So I said, okay, I'm ready to go. And I went like FRA plus 4 months. And the individual, and I'm sure that their intentions are good, right? So they said, well, we can backdate that to your FRA, and then you'll get 4 months extra in that paycheck. You'll get 4 months extra benefits in that paycheck. But the thing is, you lose out in the long run. So let's say you wait until 68 when your FRA is 67, And they will try to convince you to regress to 67 and take a full year more in benefits, but that's only good for that one area. You'll get a nice lump sum for that period, but then you'll get the 68, you'll get 67, the Frost 67 amount, not the Frost 68 amount, which is more. It's more over a long term. So don't try to think, oh, I'll take a lump sum now and then I'll get a lesser benefit, because that's what the government wants. The government wants you to take a lesser benefit. It's good for them. It's good for them. Let me tell you something. If the government says this is a good deal, run as fast as you can. Just seriously, run as fast as you can, because you're going to get messed over somewhere along the line. So just, think about it. Make sure you have your figures in mind and do it that way. And if you do it that way, it's so much better. So just think through what you're doing. Think through what you're doing. Notice I put the cutter there because that's what happens, right? They cut that. And also make sure that you take the federal income tax at that point in time. They'll ask you on the phone, or they'll ask you in the online application about federal income tax. Take it then. Take the federal income tax amount out then. Don't wait. I mean, unless you're not making that much money. But you take it out then, and then you get a refund at the end, and that's much better. So I mean, this was a very long, and I'm sorry for making it so long, but this was very important. Can you fix this? Now, there's a method. It may be obsolete, although I have seen it online. You accept the benefits from the FRA on, right? So you refund all your benefits from the first check until you reach FRA. Okay, so if let's say your FRA was, your full retirement age was 67, you said I'm going to retire at 66, right? I don't care about FRA. And then later I say, oh, I do care about FRA. So basically what happens is it's, let's say it's 69 or 70, you say, oh shoot, I should have done FRA. Well, you've not gotten the Social Security benefits at 66 for those 4 years. If you give all that money back, and then say, I want to have it from FRA on, then you can do that. But you can't just like, here's a piece of it back. You got to give all of it back. All the money you receive from Social Security has to be given back to them, and then you can reapply and you can go ahead and do FRA. But that's the only way you can correct it. Sometimes you're talking about 30, 40, 50, sometimes $100,000 you're going to have to give back so that you can go ahead and go for the FRA. So that is, I don't know if this is still acceptable. I've seen it. I've seen it in some areas, but it certainly is worth asking about from that standpoint. So something to consider, and if you want to do it, then you can do it. If you don't want to do it, then that's fine. And again, the old individual, this is an individual type aspect, but you gotta understand that this type of stuff is, it's worth asking about. SSA.gov. There's plenty of information on this website, and I'll give it to you here in a second. I was going to go over some other things today, but I'm going to save that for next time since we're running short on time. So summary, do not take Social Security at 62 if you can afford not to. Watch your FRA birthday. Remember the first of the month rule, right? Ensure that you get the most for your wait time. Do not get a salary past the limits of salary requirements if you decide to take the benefits at 62. And ask a lot of questions. Take notes. If you're going to do this online, make sure you read each screen before you go to the next screen. Make sure that you understand everything that goes on there. Because I think it's those people that do not ask that, and then they end up in bad straits. Well, that's all I have time for. www.ssa.gov. Next time what we'll do is we'll actually go to the website ssa.gov, and we'll go over some of the areas you need to understand. But in the meantime, remember, ask a lot of questions. And I'll tell you, if you do it right, you're going to be able to get a good, solid amount for the amount of time that you got to understand this. It's your money. You put this money in, right? So it's very important that you understand how that all works, and that it's very important for you to know exactly how much you made and why you should get it all. And this is Lead with Love, sharing what I know and sharing what I've experienced with people that, like you, who are willing to listen. You take care of yourself. Have a great day.